February 26, 1815. Napoleon escaped from the island of Elba back to Paris. The whole Europe now was shocked by this news. They would not allow the Corsican monster back to his power. For this time, they decided to completely destroy his empire. For good. The 7th Anti-French coalition was formed. The Spanish army, in the southwest with 24,000 men. The Austrian army, in the southeast with 60,000 men. The Prussian army, in the east with 120,000 men. And, at last, the Duke of Wellington commanding British-Dutch ally army with 100,000 men. The French Empire was facing the biggest challenge ever. And Napoleon decided to defeat British and Prussian army first. The battlefield was wisely chosen by the British Duke at Waterloo in today's Belgium, in the south of Brussels. Napoleon commanding the French army in the south of Waterloo, while Marshal Grouchy taking 1/3 of the army to the east to chase the Prussians. The Prussian Marshal Blücher coming to the west to join the British troops. Here is the map of Waterloo battlefield in Total War Napoleon. And our story goes back to 200 years ago.
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Never felt better in my life. Come, we eat.
On that morning, Napoleon held a conference with his marshals and staff. His younger brother Prince Jérôme informed the emperor that his spy told him Prussians were very likely to join the battle in the afternoon. Staff Marshal Soult suggested to recall Marshal Grouchy back to Waterloo, but he was rejected by Napoleon. Also, Napoleon noticed that the ground was muddy and soft, and gunpowder was wet, due to the heavy rain of last night. So he decided to delay his attack.
Come on, get me out, get me out!
This was a big mistake he made. Because if he launched attack earlier, the Prussian would be too late to reinforce the British. This is the battlefield of Waterloo, with British on the north and French on the south. On French's left forward, it was Napoleon's younger brother Prince Jérôme, commanding a division of 2nd Corps. On left back, it was Emperor Napoleon commanding his Old Guard and his reserve cavalry. In the center, it was Marshal Ney's Corps, with his cavalry and infantry. On the center right, Napoleon settled his huge artillery battalion. On the right, it was Count d'Erlon's Corps. For the Wellington side, on the British right wing, it is the village of Hougoumont. In the British center, it was the village La Haye Sainte. On the British left wing, there is the farm of La Haye. The Duke of Wellington placed his troops at the back of the hill, so the French cannonballs cannot easily hit their targets. Prince Jérôme started to mobilize, Napoleon ordered him to feint Hougoumont in order to attract Wellington's troops away from the center, so that Count d'Erlon could lead a general attack in the center at noon.
La Bedouille!
Yes, sir.
What's moving there?
I see men marching in column. Maybe 5 or 6,000.
At 1 p.m., both French and British noticed that several columns of troops were coming from the east. At the same moment, Count d'Erlon was ready to lead a larger attack onto the British center, between La Sainte and La Haye.
Infantry, au rapport! Our men are running, sir!
Count d'Erlon led a heavy cavalry charge, but soon turned to a failure.
Our men are running, sir!
French struggled, but they could not repel the English, so they started to retreat. D'Erlon's attack failed. At this moment, British heavy cavalry rushed down the hill and struck the escaping French infantry.
Our men are running, sir! Our men are running, sir!
However, they dived too much into fighting. As they got closer to French's artillery, they were bombarded in pieces by the cannon fire.
Prussians. That's not necessary, that's not necessary, it's the Prussians.
Napoleon's nightmare started. Marshal Grouchy was still not seen. The Emperor ordered Marshal Ney to capture the village La Haye Sainte immediately at all events.
La Haye Sainte. The one who wins the farmhouse wins the battle. Go on.
The Prussians were coming along on the French right wing. Marshal Ney must capture La Haye Sainte in the center, and drove back the British before the Prussian reinforcements' arrival. At 4 p.m., Marshal Ney noticed that the British seemed to be falling back. He believed that the Duke of Wellington finally oscillated. So he decided to unleash a cavalry attack. Actually, Ney was very cautious. He only ordered General Miao commanding 2,000 horsemen to strike. However, all French horsemen rushed out when they saw General Miao charging to the enemy. At the same moment, Napoleon saw Ney's suicide attack. He decided to gamble the victory on this cavalry charge. So he sent the rest of his reserve horsemen to support his marshal. The situation on the right was getting worse.
Marchez!
Prussian General Billow commanding the advance guard to attack the French right flank. At 6 p.m., Marshal Ney finally captured La Sainte and cleared out the British defenders. Ney now urged his horse artillery to march to La Sainte. The French cannons were only 300 yards away from the British center and blasted the Allied troops into pieces. With such advantage, Marshal Ney appealed Napoleon to send his old guard to reinforce the center. Napoleon refused. He considered the Prussians were bigger threat, so he sent his Imperial Guard to defend the right wing. Now Napoleon was finally ready to send the rest of his old guard to reinforce the center.
Our men are running, sir!
After a whole day fighting, French soldiers were exhausted. The old guards were driven back, and Marshal Grouchy was still nowhere. As more and more Prussian troops flooding in from the west, the French almost mentally broke down. Sensing the French depression, the Duke of Wellington finally ordered to rally his general attack. Thousands of British cavalry boys rushing down the hill. The French ran for their lives.
Our men are running, sir! Our men are running, sir! Our men are running, sir! Our men are running, sir!